Hello everyone again. This is JT at StayOnTheRise, where I help you with tips and tricks and thoughts and habits that can help you be successful not only in life but in your business. And I wanted to do today was a little bit, I was working with going through my bills, personal bills, and I came across the cable bill, and I noticed that it had gone up, by like $10 or $12. And so I called the cable company up to take a look at it and see why that was. And it turned out that the plan that I had been on or something and had been for like 2 years had expired. And so it had gone up to another rate. And so I sat and spent about another half an hour with the person on the phone, getting it back down to a rate, finding out what different plans I were, cutting out different things to bring that back down. So some of you may wonder, well, why did I spend this time to go through this bill? It was only $12. What does that really mean in the context of things? I mean, I could certainly spend a lot more. But it all comes down to the concept of stewardship. Some of you may or may not be familiar with that term, but basically it means that you are a good steward with any money that you're given or anything that you're given that you're responsible for. And since money essentially is value that's exchanged. Generally, most of us make money from either the talents that we have, the skills that we have, and working at a job, or if we're running a business, by the value that we provide in our products and services, and people give us money back for it. So that skill and that management, all those types of things actually translate into time, your time, which essentially is your life. We only have a certain amount of time in our life. We don't even know exactly what it ends. So time, or your life, the time that you spend on your life that you're spending, is directly related to your money. Now, since we don't know exactly when our time here on Earth, we're just renters, will eventually expire. Time is extremely precious. Our life is extremely precious. And so we should treat that money with the same reverence and that same stewardship. So I'm reminded of a story a while back. I was traveling a lot and doing those things and spending a lot of time on the road. And I was really tired as beat after coming back from an airline trip. Went into a 7-Eleven, I think it was, and wanted to get some gum. And realized I didn't have any change or anything like this. And the gum was like, I don't know, it was like $1.50 or something like that. And so I used my debit card. So I used my debit card. I got the thing for $1.50 and went on my merry way. Later on, when I was looking at my bank receipt or my bank statement, I had noticed that there was this charge, this overdraft charge for $35. And when I looked at, well, what triggered this is because at that point in time when I bought the gum, it was like a day before I got my paycheck or something, and because I've been traveling so much, I hadn't paid attention. It was the overdraft charge because I'd gone over by a little bit with this, $1.35 pack of gum. So when I was looking at that, it suddenly dawned on me. I had, through not paying attention, not keeping track of things and everything else, that gum basically cost me $36.50 for this pack of gum, for the little bit of enjoyment I got. And if I want to extend that farther, that means that $36.50 at the time, I think, was probably an hour and a half of time that I spent, if I was looking at an hourly rate, an hour and a half of time that I spent for that gum, which means that was an hour and a half of my life that I spent for that gum. So it's very, very important. Now, granted, I've gotten much better at looking at these things, but it's why I take this approach to anything in my personal life, my personal finances, and certainly in my business. I have to treat with respect the money that people have given back to me and use it wisely. Every time I'm spending money now for the business, for my own personal life, I always have this thought in my mind: what is the value? If I'm going to spend this money, this is my life I'm spending. Is it worth what I'm paying for it? Am I getting, hopefully, if you have an investment mentality, the money that you're putting in is actually giving you greater value than the actual cost of that. I mean, if you can get to that point. Now, there's certain things, you got to live, you got to eat and things like that. But even in those cases, the type of food you eat, the type of places that you go to exercise, the type of place that you live, are they adding value to your life because you're taking your life to spend on these things? Similarly, in a business, any type of thing, whether it's banking or everything else, always look at and try to make sure and be aware of all these little fees and other types of things. And if you don't like them, or if they can't give you a good explanation, if you're not getting the value for their fees, change banks or change plans or do something else. Similarly, if you're using vendors, make sure you're getting the value out of them. Same thing with your employees. You want to make sure that you're getting value out of your employees. If you're getting the proper value, then it's not a problem. But always take this approach with your money and your own personal finances, and certainly with your business finances. As many of you know from my background and story, I had a lot of money and things, and then basically blew it all because I kind of lost my mind and got involved in some things I shouldn't have, and suddenly was in debt. And when I was coming back, I had very little money. Well, it really doesn't matter how much money you have. Why does Warren Buffett still live in the same house that he bought back in the 50s? That cost him $20,000, even though he's one of the richest men on the planet? Because he has this investor mentality, and he values the stewardship and thinks about the stewardship of what he's doing with his money. He doesn't need a bigger house. He doesn't need a mansion that's everything else. He doesn't need that conspicuous consumption. It brings him no value. So I hope that this sinks in, that this is an approach that you start taking in your life. I'm certainly not perfect with it, but I really try to have this approach and try to make sure that I am a good stewardship with my own money, and certainly a good steward with the value of the money that people are paying me in my businesses, that I'm giving them value back, and that when I'm spending money on the business, that is directly related to my ability to give value back to my customers. So, hope all of you had a great have a great day. It's a beautiful day here down in South Florida. Look below. You can click and subscribe to my channel, or like this video. Leave comments or questions or anything else you have, and I'll see you next time.